نور قلوبكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. I'd like to warmly welcome you to the last night of the Al-Banin Majlis, and we're going to commence the program, the last night, with a Q&A session with Samahat Sayyid Moustaf Al-Qazwini. Before we start the Q&A, the Sayyid is going to give a quick short talk. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, there's a range of ways in which we're going to approach this. First and foremost, there's pens and papers going out in the brothers and sisters side. If you have any questions and want to remain anonymous, by all means, if you write your question and give it to the people by the doors.
Make it short.
Please as well, a request from the Sayyid, make the question short.
Don't write a novel, just a question.
Also, another request, if we can try and refrain from giving papers to the stage, give it to the people by the door and they'll pass it on to us, please. It saves someone coming up every second. There's also, if we will be taking questions from the floor, a lot of Q&As don't have that. We will be taking questions from the floor, so there will be a chance for people to raise their hands and ask to say the question directly. But once again, we ask you to keep it short. Finally, for those members of the audience that are on Twitter, we have the hashtag Qazwini Q&A. So if you hashtag a question, it will get to me and then we'll pass it on. And before we start, I'll find out how to spell that, because I think there's a lot of different ways of saying that. Anyway, I'm going to pass it on to the Sayyid to begin tonight's program. If we can welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. قال تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، وعلى الصفوة الخيرة من صحابته الميامين المخلصين، ومن تبعهم بإحسان وإيمان إلى يوم الدين. First and foremost, let me extend my appreciation and my thanks and my admiration to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, for your very heartfelt welcoming and reception that I received here, and the generous hospitality of many of you. I was overwhelmed with kindness and goodness and smiles and warm welcoming in this city. And let me share a few points with you at the conclusion of these sessions. I am, as an elder brother to many of you, and as a servant of Islam for the last 35 years of my life, I'd like to share some of my experiences with you in whatever time we have tonight before we begin the Q&A session. Number one, my brothers and sisters, you are going through the most critical and the most important juncture of your life. Most of you here are between the ages of 15 to 35. This is the most critical time in your life. This is the time where you build your character. This is the time where you equip yourself and prepare yourself for your future. This time is very decisive in your life. If If you miss this period from the age of 15 to the age of 30, then you're going to miss out on your own life, your entire life. Look at those who are successful in this life. Those who are politicians, those who are businessmen and businesswomen, those who are in the field of education and intellectuality, those who are scholars. They built themselves during this age, between 15 to 30. This is where you build yourself. If you miss this period, this critical 15 years, nothing can repair that. After past the age of 30, it's extremely hard for yourself to have some moment of privacy, to focus on yourself. By that time, most of you, inshallah, are going to be married with children, and you have to focus on the welfare of your family. It would be hard for yourself to develop your own self. Your growth, your development, your preparation goes between these years, 15 to 30. Try not to waste them. Try to make advantage of every day. I would not say every month or every year. Every single day is an important day in your life. Every single day would make a huge difference in your future. Don't miss out on this time. This is the goldest of the golden time of your life. This is the most important. What should we do then? Number one, education and learning. Al-ilm, talabul ilm, seeking knowledge. All of you here, without exception, boys and girls, you have to learn, you have to excel. You live in a country that provides you with education, free education in this country. There are people in the Middle East, in India, in Africa, in Iraq, in Iran, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in other countries, who they dream of going to a college, a university, but they can't make it. For several reasons, they cannot make it. There are some boys and girls in some Islamic countries, they cannot make it to high school. What do you call the high school here?
Secondary school.
That's the highest thing.
Oh, university.
No, from 9th to the 12th grade. What do you call it here in the school? High school? Secondary?
There's a few different ways of saying the same.
Okay. So you get me, okay? You understand what I'm saying. There are some kids, I've seen them in the streets of some countries, including my own country, Iraq, at the age of 7 and 8 and 9. Small kids, they could not make it to a school for many reasons. Either they lost their parents, their father, their guide, or because of necessity, they have to bring some food to their families, or because of war and the political conflict, their school was bombed, was destroyed. You have this opportunity in this country. Education is free in the UK. You should finish your school. You should finish your college. You should finish your university. You should finish your BA and go for the master's degree and for the PhD. Because you have the time for it and you have no excuse here. You have no excuse that I could not get the good school here. People are coming from the farthest points of the earth, joining British universities, Canadian universities, American universities. And you are born and raised in this country. Education. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Dawood alayhi salam, Ya Dawood, inni mukhayyiruka bayna al-ilmi wal-mal, fakhtar ahadahuma. I give you two options. Wealth, money, or knowledge. Which one do you prefer? So David was thinking. Then he raised his head. He said, Ilahi, I would choose knowledge. When he chose knowledge, فَأَعْطَاهُ اللَّهُ الْعِلْمَ وَالْمَالِ. He received knowledge and he received wealth. When you have good knowledge, you're going to be a multi-millionaire. Don't worry about money. Knowledge and ilm brings money. Brings money. Some of you drop out of the school because I need to get some money. Wait, study, be patient a few years. You may starve if you go to school. You may encounter some hardships. You may be lonely away from your family, but this is for just a period of time. 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. After that, the season of harvest arrives, and you can harvest money. So don't think of dropping out of the school, my friends. Go to school and study. This is one type of ilm. The ilm that you learn it at the university here, Western University, academic university. We have another type of ilm, the Islamic knowledge. Beside going to the university and pursuing on academic studies, you have to learn Islamic sciences, Islamic knowledge, ulum al-Quran, ulum al-Islam, ulum al-Fiqh. And there are nowadays, maybe, I would not say hundreds, but there are tens of Islamic colleges and universities throughout the world today. You have some of them here nearby. I passed by a few of them today, a couple of them here this morning. You have them in other parts of Europe. You have them in the Middle East, in Cairo, in Tehran, in Baghdad, in Yemen, in Beirut. You have universities online. You don't have to leave your house. I know many people, they did their BAs and masters and PhDs online. Online. Don't waste your time online just texting, sending pictures and, try to utilize this to learn. So side by side, academic studies and Islamic studies. A Shia, a follower of Ahlul Bayt, cannot afford to be ignorant. If someone asks you today, you guys the Shia, you do this and you do that, you believe that the Quran has been distorted, do you have an answer ready? Or you tell him, well, I don't know about this. If someone asks you, there are many madahib, many schools of thought, why did you choose to be a Shia? Do you have a convincing answer? Do you have a logical answer? Or you have an emotional answer? Well, I am Shia because my Amma Khanum, she was Shia and I learned from her to be Shia. You have to have a convincing answer. You have to tell him, I am Shia because of the following. And these are the differences. These are the differences between the school of Ahlul Bayt and that school. At least you have to know 50 differences. 50 theological and philosophical differences. Not that Ahlul, the Sunnis, they do this and we the Shia, we do Latmiyah. This is not an answer. This is not a logical answer. And you have to know the difference between Islam and Christianity too. Why we are not Christians? Christians have a beautiful cathedrals and churches and institutions and ceremonies, much more beautiful than us. Why we are not Christians? We have to know the reason. You have to know the reason. If a Christian comes to you one day and he tells you, what is Islam? Can you explain that to him in a nice way? In a way that he can get it and understand it? If not, it's not too late for you to learn. Grab a book. Thousands of books. We have thousands of books in English today explaining Islam, the difference between Islam and Christianity, the difference between Islam and other religions. We have books on Shia Islam, why we are Shia, what difference it makes to be a Shia or a Sunni. Is there any difference or there are no differences? We have to understand these things, my friends. And this is the time for you. Past the age of 30, you would never have time to study and to research. Because by that time, you're going to have 2 or 3 kids. You have to pick up one from this nursery, the other from that school. And then you go shopping. And by the time you come home by 5 or 6 or 7 p.m., you are dead. You have to eat something and go to bed. Prepare yourself for the following day. This is the time where you have the energy. This is the time where you have the intelligence. This is the time where you are not, overwhelmed by problems in your life. Al-ilm, talabul ilm. Al-ilm رأس كل خير يقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Knowledge is the fountainhead of every goodness in this life. Every goodness in this life. والجهل رأس كل شر. And ignorance is again the fountainhead of every corruption, every evil, every falsehood in this life. Why we have now, I was watching a report just right now on the TV about some European youth. They say they are about 500 from Holland and Britain and France and other countries are fighting in Syria, part of Al-Qaeda, part of the jihadis and the Salafis. Why they are doing that? Because of ignorance. If they have knowledge, they would not do that. They stay in their countries and they preach for Islam. They invite European people to accept Islam. They give a good example of Islam, not a terrible example. Allah does not want a European guy like you or an American or Canadian to carry the gun and go and fight in Yemen or Syria or other places. Allah says your gun is your pen and paper, your book. This is how you preach for me. This is how you work for me. He doesn't want you to go and carry a gun and fight and kill yourself and destroy yourself and your family and your country. And then when they go back home, all of them are radicalized. They want to bomb here and destroy there and bring down this building and that institution. This is not Islam. And this is all because of ignorance, jahl. Jahl. Because most of them, they drop out of the school. They are brainwashed by two evil sheikhs in their mosques, local communities. They brainwash them for 2 days and then they send them to go and fight. Go and kill this number of the Shias, this number of those, and then you dine with the Prophet in paradise. And Hur al-Ain are waiting for you in paradise. They're going to embrace you. Jahl, this is ignorance, sheer ignorance. You, the followers of Ahl al-Bayt, should not be ignorant. You are different. You subscribe to the most knowledgeable man after the Prophet, and that is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. And you sisters, you subscribe to the most knowledgeable female on the surface of earth in this universe, and that is Lady Fatima az-Zahra. So you have no excuse to remain ignorant. You have to seek knowledge every day. لَوَدَدْتُ لَوْ أَنِّي ضَرَبْتُ رُؤُوسَ أَصْحَابِي بِالسِّيَاطِ حَتَّى يَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Our sixth Imam al-Sadiq says, I wish that sometimes I can use violence with my companions, so I force them to study and to learn and to understand religion. What is the problem with Islam today, my friends? Islam is a beautiful religion, but this book has been misunderstood by some ignorant, a bunch of ignorant. They misunderstood this book. Therefore they think the message of Islam is about violence, is about killing, is about bloodshed, is about war. Based on misunderstanding, misconception. Why some people in Europe, in America, they don't like us, the Muslims, they don't like us. Again, based on ignorance. If they come and read the Quran, study Islam and read the Quran, they would not hate us anymore. They would find out that this is the most peaceful book. This is the most loving religion. A religion that would never hurt an insect, let alone a human being. We have no right to kill an insect with no reason. Based on ignorance. So this is number one. You have to study, my friends. This is my message for you. This is my message. We have to feel proud of you. And I'm not going to feel proud of you because the way you look, because of the style of your hair, or the perfume you wear, or the dress you have, or the style, or this or that. I'm not going to be proud of you because of all these things. I'm going to be proud of you because of the brain you carry, the aql that you have, the intellect that you have, the reason that you have, the knowledge that you have. The knowledge that you have. And remember, do you want to worship God? Do you want to score points in religion and faith, the highest points? Go to school. Go to school. You have to spend your time in the school, in the library, studying, revising, reading, writing, researching. This is how you, at this age, this is how you score the highest points in religion. This is number one. I have two more things before I open the floor. The second thing, my friends, ilm without akhlaq is nothing, is zero. Ilm has to be coupled with what? Ilm has to be coupled with what? With akhlaq, with good manners. And also you learn good manners at this age. You do not postpone it until the age of 30 or 40. By that time it is too late if you want to change your akhlaq. Now if you have a bad habit, you can crush it at this tender and young age now. By the age of 30 and 40 and 50, it's too late. Now if you want to learn something good in your life, to adopt to a good character in your life, this is the time for it. This is the time. If you want to learn patience, now. If you want to be tolerant, now. If you want to learn not to lie, it's now. Not at the age of 50. At the age of 50, it's too late for you, because you will be an expert in lying at that time. It would be difficult for you to get rid of it. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper into your character. It is now. You have a tender soul now. Your souls, your spirits are still clean, still washable. You can wash them. Even if they get contaminated, you can wash them easily. You can wash them easily. See, I'll give you an example. Have you seen a child who's 1 year old, 2 years old? When you want to wash his hand, his or her hand, how long does it take? Compared to you, it takes 10 seconds. The hand is small. It can be washed easily. But your hand takes 2 minutes. The same thing with the heart. Your heart is still tender and young. You can wash it easily with goodness. Replace it with goodness. So this is the time. Learn akhlaq. And third, my friends. So what was the first thing we have to learn at this age? Ilm, knowledge. What was the second? Akhlaq. And guess what is going to be the third? What do you think? Sport, football or basketball or golf. Which one would you like the most? The third, my friends, taqwa and piety. Taqwa, taqwa Allah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته حق تقاته. The piety which God loves, the piety that God deserves, حق تقاته. And taqwa is, what's the meaning of the taqwa? Very intimate and very close friendship and companionship with God. You make him your best friend. When you make him your best friend, you are not going to upset him. We all love our best friends. We try to sacrifice for them. We try to accommodate them. We try to listen to them. We don't disobey them. We don't make them unhappy. Allah is our best friend. One day those friends are going to desert us. Each one goes into his own direction. But Allah would not go. He would not leave you. He will be with you. One day you wake up, none of your friends are around you. None of your relatives. But Allah does not abandon you. He's a true friend. So fix your relationship with him. Man kana ma'allah, kana Allahu ma'ah. If you are with him, he will be with you. He left the choice for you. He says, my door is open. Any minute you decide to come to me, I would welcome you. But if you don't want to come to me, I cannot run after you. I can invite you once, twice, 3 times, 50 times, 500 times, but you have to wake up. If you are insist on your wrongdoings, if you are insist to create a gap between me and you, I cannot run after you all the time. So I'm willing to embrace you if you come to me. I'm willing. I'm willing. And believe me, my friends, if you ask me today, Mustafa, who's your best friend? Who do you think our best friend in this life? I personally have thousands of friends, almost in every continent and every country, thousands of friends. But my best friend is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because maybe those friends one day are going to upset us and disappoint us. They're going to disappoint you. But He would not do that. So what do we do? What is taqwa? Taqwa means if He says this is not good for you, believe Him. Don't disobey Him. I'll give you one example. Intergender relations, relationships between boys and girls. I know it is very hard to resist having a relationship, a friendship with the opposite gender. It's very hard before the age of marriage. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. One person asked me the other day, Sayyid, what's wrong for me? She was a female. What's wrong for me if I can have honest friendship with my colleague, with my friend in the school? I can go out with him to have some cappuccino, you know, some coffee, some drink, and we just chat over a few things. And I said to him, if you guarantee 100% that the relationship is going to be honest, then there is nothing wrong with it. But you cannot guarantee that. Because the moment you go with him on the first trip, on the first date, you're going to be accompanied by whom? Satan. He's going to say, me, don't leave me alone. You have to buy a third ticket for him to join you. If you are going to a restaurant, you have to reserve 3 seats. You and your girlfriend and the Satan. He has to be there. And this is not just me. This is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. ما اختلى أجنبيان إلا وكان الشيطان ثالثهما ولا يتركهما حتى يوردهما الردى. Once two people who are not halal with each other, they are not a husband and wife. 2 strangers. Ajnabi means 2 strangers. They are not mahram. They get together privately. Satan is going to join them immediately, and he would never leave them until he forced them to commit fornication. So be very careful. Don't tell me this is an honest friendship. There is nothing called honest friendship. Do you want to have an honest friendship? Wait until you get married and make your wife your true friend. Let her be your friend. Because if you do this, if you insist on going on dates, then you have to pay the price later on. Every action, every emotional action that you do, every emotional gesture, every emotional relationship that you have, it has a price. It has some repercussions later on. Sometimes you say, it's honest, I go with her for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let's have some fun. And then we go back to our families. We go back to our bases safe and sound. This is not true. You have heart, you have mind, you have eyes, you have feelings. You are not a piece of material. You're going to interact with that person. And if it doesn't work good, then it is going to have repercussion. It's going to have some setback on your feelings, your psyche, your nafs, your life. You're going to pay the price. You're going to pay the price. Some of these relationships, failed relationships, result in depression. You may not notice it. Some of them may be not very obvious depression, but some emotional wound and injuries. So do not injure your spirit. Make yourself strong. These injuries are going to weaken you. When do you feel them? Maybe you don't feel them at the age of 20 or 30 or 40. You're going to feel them later on in your life. Why many people have anxiety? He's worried. He's worried about doing anything. You see him before, nothing wrong with him. All of a sudden, he's very worried. He's anxious. He's in a state of fear because maybe he did something 20 years ago. This is the result of a failed relationship, maybe 20, maybe 30 years before. He's paying the price now. So my friends, make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala your good friend. Obey Him. Obey Him. Do not disobey Allah. If you are seeking success in this life, if you are seeking perpetual smile on your face, not perpetual sadness, perpetual smile and happiness and joy inside you, the heart, you have to strengthen this relationship with Him first. من أصلح فيما بينه وبين الله أصلح الله فيما بينه وبين الناس. When you fix your relationship with Him, He's going to take care of your relationship with the people around you. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Okay, we thank the Sayyid for his opening short lecture.
Very short, yeah. It was.
We have a lot of questions, so we're gonna start. Just a quick reminder, there's pens and papers coming around, so by all means write your questions. We will open the floor up to questions a bit later on. We've got just under an hour. And also for those who have Twitter, we have it very interactive today. The hashtag is Qazwini Q&A. So if you tweet your questions, I'll be able to get them from here, and then we'll also say QAZWINIQA. That's the hashtag. Okay, we're going to start with the first question, and I think it stems on nicely from your earlier lectures in regards to marriage. Assalamu alaikum. And it also follows on nicely in regards to your first topic about ilm. Assalamu alaikum. Why does Islam motivate to marry young when it is financially impractical? I'm guessing it's from one of the brothers. I want to get married, but it seems studying at uni isn't appealing to many parents. Your thoughts?
Islam is not encouraging you to marry young when you are unable to afford marriage. Islam says if you afford marriage, do not delay it for no reason. For the fear of, well, I don't know what would happen to me, to my wife, to my kids, If you can afford it, emotionally, not just physically, emotionally, not just financially, psychologically, morally, you are responsible. You can, undertake this responsibility, then do not delay it. But Islam does not say you have to get married at the age of 16 or 17 or 18. No. Islam says whether you are male or female, even if you are 20 years old, 25 years old, if you are not ready for it, you think you are not ready for it, don't get married. Don't get married. Get married at the time when you are fully ready for it.
Ahsant. We're going to try and keep it short and sweet because we have a lot of questions. Sayyidina, assalamu alaikum. If someone doesn't pray and knows this is haram and wrong, but is just lazy and indifferent when it comes to his prayers, how would you advise him or her?
I tell them, try to begin praying. Even if you cannot pray 5 times a day, try to pray 1 time, or maybe just Dhuhr and Asr first, and then start to increase that number slowly. Try to increase that number. You're going to get used to it. You're going to fall in love with it. When you pray with the presence of the heart, your heart is present there. When you pray with reflection, with a humility, then definitely you're going to enjoy the prayers. If you have a problem with the prayers, then it means you have a problem with religion. Something wrong there is bothering you. You have to tackle that first. You have to find out, what is it? It could be various elements that are bothering you. You have to tackle that first and start praying.
Excellent. A question with a more historical basis. How can baby Muhsin, son of Fatima alayhi salam, be named if he wasn't born when the incident occurred?
The Anbiya and the prophets and the Imams are usually named before their birth, and even we have ordinary people in our community, their parents, they choose a name for them as soon as they find out about the gender, or even if they don't know about the gender, they say, if I get, a boy, I would call him Ali, and if I get a female, I will get. So there was a name chosen for him before his birth, and this is something very normal.
Okay, this is a very short question, and I'm sure it's going to have a short response. Can you follow a dead marja? Can you follow a dead follower?
No, the jurists say if the person is already dead, then you cannot follow him anymore. You have to begin your taqleed with someone who is still alive.
Assalamu alaikum. The story. Husband tells his wife he wants to get married to a second wife. What are his rights and what are hers? Does she have the right to say no?
If during solemnizing their marriage, if she puts a clause, condition, that if you marry a second wife, you have to divorce me. Or you cannot marry a second wife. She cannot tell him you cannot marry, but she can tell him, if you choose to marry a second wife, then you have to divorce me. During solemnizing the marriage in the beginning, not after that. Then she has the right not to let him get married unless he divorces her. But if she did not stipulate this clause in her marriage, in her wedding, in her marriage contract, then it is too late. She cannot do anything about it. The only thing she can do is to pray to God to stop him from marrying the second wife. And this prayer is not going to be accepted, most likely.
Sayyidina, assalamu alaikum. Yesterday, this is in regards to your lecture yesterday you remarked that a wealthy criminal suspect may be able to get away with their crimes with an aid of an expensive attorney. Is this not comparable to Islamic law, whereby a criminal can pay blood money to the victim or the family in order to become exempt from punishment? Therefore, should two people commit the same crime, the wealthy individual can buy freedom. Where is the justice?
There is a lot of justice. There is a big difference. In Islam says if the family of the victim agree to forgive him and to forego the qisas, retribution, then he must pay them the restitution, the money, the fidya, they call it diya, the diya. But if they don't agree, he cannot get away with it. He cannot get away with the sentence. This is in case the family of the victim, they say, his children, his wife, his relatives, they come and they say, okay, we will forgive him. We will spare him his life. Then he has to pay the money, the restitution. But if they don't forgive him, he would be executed and killed.
Thank you. We seem to be getting a lot of questions on marriage. This is one from the sister's side. If I am a girl who feels she is ready for marriage, how can I make it known? When I speak to family members, they don't take it seriously and tell me it's too soon.
We have such incidents in the community. I've seen it, where the female thinks that she's at the age of 18 or 20 or 22 and she's really fully ready to get married, but her mother says, no, I know you, I'm your mother. The father says, I'm your father, I know you are not ready for it now. So it has to be in consultation with the family members. Sometimes we think we are ready, But we need to consult, my friends. We need to consult. I know many people, they think they are ready, but in reality they are not ready. When they are observed by people around them, they say, no, he's not ready. He thinks. Some of the females, the difference of males and females, the difference of you guys, the boys here, because you are physically ready for it, so you think you are completely ready, even if you are not emotionally ready. Because of the physical factor, most of the time. Because of the physical desire, most of the time. You think you are ready for marriage. But that does not mean you are completely ready. Because it's not about physical, physical pleasure only. For females, it's not because of the physical, because of the emotional. They want to be with someone. Especially if they are not fully happy at home with the surroundings, with her siblings, with her father, with her mother. There is always conflict. So she thinks that if I can flee the house and find, this, nice man, this saint, this angel, so I can spend my time with him. She thinks she's ready just because to flee the house, but that does not mean she is completely ready. So I think she has to consult with her parents and she should consider her parents' view when they tell her you are not ready.
Seeing as we have a trend with the marriage questions, there's only a few more, then I'll change the topic. What is the most efficient and accurate way of making a khira, in particular a khira relating to marriage?
Istikhara, which is consultation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, comes as a last resort, my friends. Do not begin the journey by istikhara. First of all, you have to see whether this, person fits you. Is she compatible with you, with your values, with your religion, with your principles? You have to study each other. You have to ask about each other. And not just by, liking someone. I saw her in a session and she, speaks very nicely and softly and mashallah, the way she walks and no, this is not enough. You have to study each other. You have to ask about each other. You have to investigate. You have to hire a private investigator sometimes from the Scotland Yard, to investigate on each other's records. Really, I'm serious, not very serious, but I am serious. And then if you cannot find the right answer and you are still hesitant, then you go and take the istikhara with someone who knows to interpret the verses of the Quran for you. Because some people, they begin with the istikhara, they like this person, they want to marry him, and they begin the istikhara and the istikhara turns out to be bad. Oh, Sayyid, why the istikhara is bad? I don't know why it's... So, I disagree with istikhara, with taking the istikhara in the beginning. The istikhara has to be at the end. If there is a need for istikhara, sometimes I advise you, if you can find the right answer, there is no need for istikhara. Because al-khiratu inda al-hira, when you are confused, not when you have the clear answer. If there is a clear answer there, you don't have to take istikhara.
We've received our first interactive tweets. So the next question is going to be I'm not going to say the names. This is via Twitter, Sayyidina. Dear Sayyid Qazwini, what is the best way to deal with sectarian violence through media? Very good question.
The best way, my friends, is to present at least ourselves. Let me talk about we, the other branch of Islam, which is Shia Islam, the followers of Ahlul Bayt. We have to use logic when we speak to the other side. Allah has endowed us with logic, and the school of Ahlul Bayt is based on reason and logic. So when you use this is the best way to combat the other side. Don't use emotions. Do not curse, my friends. Don't curse. Cursing is not going to get us to anywhere. Cursing is going to escalate the tension and the mistrust between the Muslims. When you have logic, strong logic, You can knock them down with your logic. You don't need to curse. You don't need to curse. Sometimes when you have logic, when your argument is strong, the effect is much more powerful than an atomic bomb. So why do you have to curse? Those people who curse, those who cannot approve themselves, they resort to cursing and swearing. And cursing is not the tradition of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Inni akrahu lakum an takunu sabbabin. Imam Ali alayhi salam says to some of his followers, I hate for you to become cursers. Don't curse. Uthkuru a'malahum. Say what Muawiyah did, but don't curse. Don't curse. With cursing, we are going to nowhere. To nowhere.
This question follows on nicely from that Sayyidina. Is it right to send the curse of God on 1, 2, 3 in public? I think he or she means la'na.
No, it is not advisable, neither it is the tradition of Ahlul Bayt to curse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in public. You may curse in a private, in your heart, but not in public.
Ahsant. We're going through them very quickly because, like I said, we have a lot of questions. We will open up the floor to questions if anyone has any questions in about 5 minutes or so. Interesting question, Sayyidina. Can we claim that the blood of the Imams is najis?
This is a controversial issue, my friends. Controversial issue among the scholars. Whether their urine and their blood is clean or unclean, there is a debate. And I plead to you, my sweeties, don't ask such a question, please, because it is completely irrelevant to you. You are sitting in London, here, England, 2013. What difference it would make for you whether the blood is najis or not najis? Do you want to draw blood from them now? You know? So don't ask such questions. One day a person comes to Imam Ali and he wants to ask such questions here. Imam Ali said, if I give you the answer, what difference it would make? Would it increase your knowledge? Would you benefit from that? So ask questions that are relevant to your deen, to your behavior, to your akhlaq, to your society, to the crisis that you are living now. What is the first crisis we have now? Let me ask you, who can volunteer? Raise his hand. What is the major crisis we have among ourselves now, today? What is it? What is it? Huh? Tell me, what is it? Do you want me to help you? You can't tell me? You don't have the courage to tell me? I would tell you. The biggest crisis you have today is the family crisis in your own family. In your own family. Either your parents, they don't talk to each other, or if you are married, you have a problem with your spouse, or if you are a father, you have a problem with your son, with your daughter, or you have a problem with your own siblings. This is the problem we have. Let me fix this problem first. Let me ask about these questions. How can I go back home tonight and be a good boy, good girl to my parents, good husband to my wife, good father to my children? This is what makes difference, my friends. It's not whether the blood of the Imam is najis or not najis, or, you know. These are irrelevance. Ahibba'i, these are irrelevance. Do not keep yourself busy with them. هذا علم لا ينفع. What do we say in the dua? أعوذ بك من علم شنو لا ينفع. Imam, we love the Imam, we adore them, we are their slaves, but it doesn't make any difference to spend time and say, oh, the Sayyid today, he said the blood was not, was not clean. And then I find a statement coming out of, Westminster, or, against me, condemning me that he's Umari, he's Bakri, So don't get me in trouble, Habibi.
We fought them a little better. That was my fault. I apologize. Sayyidina, is it okay to communicate with the other gender over the social network or face to face, not only for purpose not only for the purpose of marriage, and this is a different question but also similar, it did make me laugh. Can two cousins from opposite genders talk?
Two cousins?
Yeah, from opposite genders.
Yeah, we are not saying talking to each other is a taboo, is strictly forbidden, and she has to wear the burqa, you know, and I know some cousins, they don't even greet each other, you know, when they go to each other's homes, you know. They don't even say salam. This is too much. This is too much. You may speak to the opposite gender. We speak on a daily basis. When you go to school, when you go to the shopping center, when you go to the mall, when you go to... We do interact with them. But you have to be serious. For instance, you have a friend, a co-worker, you have to talk to her sometimes. You have to talk to her for serious issues, things related to the work, but not more than that. You may not ask her, okay, you know, does your husband come back home late or early? This is none of your business, you know. I'm giving you an example. So we have to avoid things that would ultimately lead into undesirable situations.
And in regards to the social networking, Facebook, Twitter?
Yeah, if the talk is serious, if someone asks you a question, for instance, what do we have at Muhammadi Trust tonight? Do they have Timman Qima tonight or not? You can answer this question, but not more than that, because keep it very strict, keep it very serious, and keep it to the right to the point. No more than that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Next one, I think it's from the brother's side. Are tattoos haram, e.g. tattoo of Imam Ali, sword of Dhul Faqar, and underneath is scrawled, i.e. scholars Sayyid Sistani. So jurisprudence.
Yeah. Sayyid, Hafidhahullah, may Allah bless him, says that if tattoo and tattooing is associated with the people who have no faith, then even if it is the picture of Imam Ali or his sword, or, you know, it is not appropriate and it should be avoided, because it is associated with people who have no faith, with people who are not decent. So you have to avoid that. Have you ever seen a scholar, let me ask you this, who has a tattoo on his arm, you know, on his chest? Have you ever seen? They don't do that, you know. They love Imam Ali. Imam Ali is here in my heart, but I don't put the tattoo there. So it's not appropriate. It's not. And my advice for you, both genders, my brothers and sisters, avoid tattoo, because you know you're going to regret it 10 years later, believe me. And I read a report that when they remove it, it's very painful. So save yourself some pain, huh? And it is not covered by the government, they tell me. You have to pay for it. Yeah. So don't do that. Don't do the tattoo.
Next question is on Twitter, and then we're going to open it up to the floor. What is the jurisprudence advice on going to mixed gyms and swimming pools?
It's not allowed. It's not allowed to go to mixed swimming pools, definitely. And the gym, if at that time there are females, you know, exercising, and it's not appropriate, because you cannot close your eyes, you know, when you are run on the treadmill. You cannot do that. It's dangerous. So definitely you're going to open your eyes, and sometimes you're going to chat, and you know, so it's not allowed to go to the mixed, you know, sports centers.
Okay. Next question we'll open up to the floor before we take the questions from the papers in front of me. Has anyone got a question they'd like to pose to the Sayyid? Please, the Sayyid requests, please keep it very short. We haven't got much time.
Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidina.
Alaikum assalam.
In our aqidah, we believe, for example, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam is rahmatullah al-wasi'ah wa qudratullah. But in our Shia theology, in Tawheed, we believe the features of Allah, sifatul Allah, aynu dhatih. So the qudra, rahmah, is all one. So how can this be? And how can Imam Mahdi be rahmatullah al-wasi'ah if sifatullah aynu dhatih, the rahmah is one, the qudra is one? Tolerance is one. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you so much. When we say this Imam or that Imam is Rahmatullah, then we mean that he's a reflection. He's one of the reflections of God's mercy. And there is nothing wrong with that. God sometimes, He bestows some of His own qualities on others. Some of His own qualities that exclusively for Him, He passed them to others. Like what? An example of that in the Quran. What is it? Something very important that God passed to one man. And he started exercising God's power. What is it in the Quran? See, I tell you, you have to study, my friends, the difference between Islam and Christianity. Who was the one who resurrected the dead in the Quran? Isa alayhi salam. Was it by him or by God? By God. How do we say that? Where is it? It's in this book. وَتُبْرِئُ الْأَكْمَهَ وَالْأَبْرَصَ بِإِذْنِي, with my permission, with my leave. وَتُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى بِإِذْنِي, with my leave. So I have given you this. So God sometimes bestow some of His characteristics on certain people. And there is nothing wrong with that. And this is Aynut Tawheed. This is exactly, emphasizing the concept of monotheism. Yalla.
Salam Sayyid, this is a trend that we seem to find in our community. Can I develop my own views upon fatwas given by my marji, or do I have to follow each fatwa strictly?
Developing your own views on the fatwa, if the marji is giving his final verdict, meaning the fatwa or the religious injunction, then you cannot develop any views on that. You have to take it as it is, because he did that out of, not out of guess. He spent some time deriving this law from the Quran, from the Sunnah, debating this for a long period of time, and then he presented that to you. So you cannot take part of it or add to it or modify it. We cannot do that.
Ahsant. Next question. This is going to be a bit controversial. Shabab won't like you for this, but I've been asked to ask it. What can you say about smoking shisha? Halal or haram? It's very relevant in this society, Sayyid, as I'm sure it is in the States.
I used to smoke shisha, and I regret every second of that. If I am reborn again, I would never approach it. I really regret. I used to sit with some scholars sometime in religious cities, and one of them brings, and then he says, "Tafaddal Mawlana, please." And then we used to try it, and I really regret what I did. So I advise you not to get close to it. Don't do that. It's detrimental to your health. Not only your health, especially when you do it in a bad environment. Now sometimes some people do it in their homes, among good friends. But this is not the case with many people. They do it where? In the cafes, in the restaurants, in the streets. And the environment there is intoxicated. Morally intoxicated. And if you get used to it, then it would be very difficult to get rid of it. So my advice, my sincere brotherly advice to you is try to stop it, my friends.
A question along the same lines. What would you advise if a friend of mine is already addicted to vices, i.e. smoking and stronger stuff? So I'm guessing in that he's meaning drugs in that sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would you advise if he's already addicted?
But there is a way. If there is a will, there is a way. And he can get rid of that, provided that he has a strong will and a strong faith, and he look up to his future, and he think about his health 10 years from now. And it's not about only your health. I have witnessed some of the divorces that took place because either one of them was smoking, and he smelled terrible. And his partner could not stand that. Because of smoking. She said to him, I don't want you. So it's not only about your health, it's about your future, it's about your social life, it's about your family. Try to quit that. And if you do drugs, this is even more terrible. This is even more terrible. You are incurring injustice against yourself, your brain, your intellectual power. So you have to hurry to stop that. You have to do everything possible to stop that. Even if you go to a rehab center for 6 months, for 1 year, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Ahsant. Next question in regards to ghaiba has come via Twitter. Assalamu alaikum Sayyidina. In regards to ghaiba, if I mention something bad that someone did, is it classified as ghaiba? Or if I say something nice about the person, but the person doesn't like it, again, is this ghaiba?
If he doesn't like it, al-ghiba, yeah, even if you think it's good. Al-ghibatu an tadhkura akhaka bima la yuhib. You think it's good, you are saying something good about him, but he does not want you to say it. He doesn't want you. He doesn't think this is good. So this is considered ghiba.
What logical answer can I give to a non-Muslim about why it is permissible to marry 4 wives?
The best logical answer you give is that we don't do that. We don't exercise it. How many of you has 4 wives here? How many of your families, your ancestors? Do you know, let me ask you this. Do you know of a person here in England or outside England that he has 4 wives? Do you know? Do you know? Give me an answer. This is a myth. Who can afford? We cannot afford 1 single wife nowadays, you know. Can we afford 5 or 4? No, the answer is to tell them this is just theoretical. It's not practical. Nobody is practicing this. Because if you keep telling him, yeah, 4 wives and the society, he would never accept that from you. He would never. Muslims don't accept that from you. Can you convince a Muslim wife that her husband can marry a 2nd wife? Can you convince them? Do you agree, sisters, with this? Do you agree? You don't agree. So it's better not to talk about it.
I'm going to open up the floor to any questions. I won't pass the mic because it's going to take too long, so if you just put your hand up. Tfadhal, Moustaf.
Regarding the same question, you do get a lot of people with the Western society. They do point that out very, very clearly. And it's a bit tricky to answer with the 4 wives. Obviously, I've said what you've said today, and it's still hard to get a good response from them.
In regards to the 4 wives.
Yeah, I get him. But tell them, have you seen anyone nowadays practicing that? Nobody's practicing that. Like the Mormon, you know, the Mormon in England, in America, we have the Mormon Christian. Have you heard of the Mormon? They are allowed to marry more than 4 wives. But this is a myth. I went to them last year. I visited their communities. None of them has a 2nd wife or a 3rd one or 4th one. It's a myth. So nobody practices that. So the best thing is to say, we don't practice it. We don't practice it. The same thing with beating wives, which is mentioned in the Quran. Nobody would practice that anymore. This is something used to happen a long time ago. And Islam addressed this for the people of the past. Nowadays, nobody is practicing this anymore.
Some Shi'is seem confused by the notion of one Muslim Ummah. They interpret this as meaning we should adopt some of the Sunni sect's beliefs and routines. Can we have a brief explanation on the meaning of one Muslim Ummah, and must we compromise our Shia beliefs to be united as Muslims?
One Muslim Ummah means that we can be united and work together without compromising our religious and theological principles. We can pray in one mosque, in one place together, a Sunni. In my mosque in America, in Los Angeles, I have many Sunnis who come on Friday prayers and they pray with us, and we have no problem. So we can have a unified platform without the necessity of, merging together and abolishing our theological bases. We don't have to do that. We can unify ourselves and work together, preserving our own peculiarities and our own differences.
Ahsan Sayyidina. The next couple of questions are going to be in regards to Salah. We've got quite a few. Can we be sure that the prayer has been accepted and avoid thinking of, I can't read that word, and avoid thinking of entering our minds and forgetting all about focus? I think it's in regards to focus when one prays, and how do they know that Salah is actually going to be accepted?
The Prophet ﷺ teaches us
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad,
that we cannot guarantee that any one of our work, anything of our work is going to be accepted. They said to him, Ya Rasulullah, hatta ant, including you? He said, even me. Even me, I cannot guarantee that my service to God, my worshipping is accepted. إِلَّا أَن تُدْرِكَنِي رَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. The mercy of God and His forgiveness is going to save me. Imagine, this is a Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So our responsibility is to work hard to perform our prayers, our fasting, our charities, our duties in the best manner. We leave the rest with Allah. And the hadith says of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if a person throughout his or her life, 70 years, 80 years, if he does one single act of worshipping, if it gets accepted by Allah, إِذَا قَبِلَ اللَّهُ مِنْهُ عَمَلًا وَاحِدًا, one single act of worshipping, God does accept from him, لَمْ يُعَذِّبْهُ وَأَدْخَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. He would never punish him and He would admit him to paradise. One single act. Meaning, if you give a penny to a poor person, a loaf of bread to someone who's hungry, and God does accept this from you, then only with this act, you're going to make it to paradise. But can we make sure that this act is accepted? We cannot. How do we know? Because there is riya, ostentation that comes in the middle. During the prayers, during the fasting, during the hajj, during the donation, during my lecture when I give lecture. Ostentation, riya, which destroys the action and the deed.
Excellent. This one's a bit longer. Assalamu alaikum Sayyidina. Living in the West, we may find it difficult to keep our iman intact. As a result, many people find it difficult to refrain from sin. It becomes more dangerous, however, as a result of this, they become accustomed to sin. Muslims no longer feel any guilt for their behavior. The Quran itself mentions these people as having a veil, blackness over their hearts. How does one go about removing this blackness?
We have to resort to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we have Thursday night. It's a night where Allah opens His gates for forgiveness through dua, through supplication. قطرة من الدمع في جوف الليل تطفئ جبالا من غضب الله تعالى. One single drop of tear in the middle of the night. You do it with sincerity. Nobody sees you, nobody around you. You stand in the middle of the night. You can't stand, stay in bed. Stay in bed. You are too tired to stand, stay in bed. And raise your head to Him. And tell Him, I'm sorry. Tell Him, I want to go back to you. But with sincerity. With a single drop of tear, you're going to extinguish mountains of God's wrath. Jibalan min ghadabillah. So this is the way. It depends on us. It depends on whether I'm willing to go back to Him or not.
Ahsant. Sayyid, for a businessman, is it haram to conduct business with a dictatorship, i.e. the Middle East, one of the Middle East governments?
If that business is going to cause some trouble and some pain and suffering for the victims, for the people, yes, it is haram to conduct that type of business.
Ahsan. This is a question from the sister's side. Assalamu alaikum Sayyidina. How do we help encourage our young generation to want to be one of the true followers, Ansar of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallah Farajahu Sharif? Thank you. Azam Allah Ajurakum.
By being good to people, being a role model, being an example. Sometimes, my friends, we preach and preach and preach, and we give lectures and we give sermons, and nothing happens. Why? Because we are not a good example. الكلمة إذا خرجت من القلب دخلت إلى القلب. If I am sincere, if I practice what I preach, then I am going to change people around me. But if I don't, I myself, I don't practice what I am preaching, I don't believe in what I am preaching, then definitely I am going to change nothing, neither myself nor others. So the best way to get the people closer to Ahlul Bayt is to show them the example of Ahlul Bayt, the manners of Ahlul Bayt, the forgiveness of Ahlul Bayt, the adab of Ahlul Bayt. When you walk, this is why I said argila is forbidden. I said the other night, if you are doing argila and the Prophet passes by, Fatimatu Zahra, would you keep doing and you say to them, Prophet, Salamu alaikum Habibi, I love you? Would you still do that? You don't do that. You feel ashamed. You feel ashamed of that. So don't do it now. Don't do it now. Maybe because Imam al-Mahdi is watching you and seeing you, who knows? Maybe he's seeing you. So don't do that. This is the best way of being good followers and good friends and good supporters of Ahlul Bayt. I cannot understand, my friends, my brothers and sisters, I cannot get it. I cannot understand that some of you say, I am the follower of Ahlul Bayt, and then you violate your own principles, the principles of Ahlul Bayt. I cannot get it. Do you want to be good followers? Then keep their principles intact. Keep it strong.
This is a good one. Which book is the best to learn about Shia Islam, in your opinion? I'm sure there's loads.
There is a book called Inquiries About Shia Islam. I think this is a good book, right to the point, very clear, and it addresses all the questions that you are asked by the Sunnis. Why do you do this? Why do you say that? Why the turba? Why the prayers? Why the mut'ah? Why the Mahdi? Why Ashura? Why Imamah? Why Imam Ali? You have the answers, right to the point. Inquiries About Shia Islam.
Okay.
And you can find it, you can download it on IECOC.org. IECOC.org. You can download it for free.
Okay, we're going to take the final last, I think 2 or 3 questions. I want to wrap it up. Firstly, Sayyidina, many speakers come and speak in London. However, they are from the Middle East and tend to bring a sense of sectarianism through the subjects of their lectures. Some would say that they are disconnected from Western audiences. What advice do you have for these speakers, and why are they?
Sometimes the speaker is not from the Middle East. Sometimes he's from London. Sometimes he's from Los Angeles. Sometimes he's from New York. And he brings up sectarian issues. And he tries to escalate the sectarian tension. Not necessarily the Middle East. I disagree with this idea. It depends on you, my friends. If you want good speakers, open-minded speakers, good subjects, encouraging subjects, subjects that make us good Muslims, invite good speakers. And you can look at their lectures online, and you can choose. Today there is no lecturer who has nothing online. So you can look at their lectures, look at their style, look at the content, and if you think this is good for you here in the West, in Europe, in America, go ahead and invite them. If they are not doing a good job, don't invite them. Because it is we, the audience, who promote the speakers. We, the audience. The speakers, they thrive on us. They get popular at our own expense. So if we don't invite them, they have no audience to go and preach their message.
Ahsant. I'll take this last question and I think I'll wrap it up. Might have a few more, but no, this is the last one? Fine. Sayyidina, Assalamu alaikum. Looking at examples from the Prophets and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we are always taught to replicate their behavior. Yet living in a different age and society, it is somewhat difficult to replicate in a mirror image way. How do we achieve a balance between following their morals, yet keeping modern without overstepping the barriers?
Replicating them is not required. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, ألا وإنكم لا تقدرون على ذلك. I am not asking you to replicate me, to copy what I am doing. I'm eating only one loaf of bread. I'm not asking you to do the same. Imam Ali came to Kufa and he was killed in Kufa, and he lived in Kufa for 4 years and 10 months, and he had only one set of a dress, just one. And one day he was standing on the pulpit, Friday prayers, giving the sermon, and he was doing this. The boy said, I asked my father, is Imam Ali feeling hot here? It's warm? He said, no. Imam Ali has just washed this set of dress and he doesn't have any other. So he's trying to dry it. But Imam Ali is not saying you have to have only one set of a dress. No. He says, وَأَعِينُونِي بِوَرَعٍ وَاجْتِهَادٍ وَعِفَّةٍ وَسَدَادٍ. Fear God. Be careful of God. Don't do something haram. Imam Ali does not say don't ride a good car. Don't live in a beautiful house. Don't have a beautiful office. Don't eat good food. He's not saying that. He says do all these things, but be in control of the dunya. Do not let the dunya control you. You have to be in charge. Be in control of the money. Do not let the money dictate on you. This is the difference. You may have the money. You may have the money. You may become a multi-millionaire, but don't let that money controls you. You control the money. This is what he wants from us. He does not say, well, be a homeless person, don't eat anything, stand the whole night in the prayers and don't sleep next to your wife. He never said this. The group of people came to the Prophet. One of them asked, does the Prophet pray the whole night? They said to him, no. The Prophet, the Quran says to him, قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. He sleeps part of the night and he does tahajjud the other part. He said, wow, this is terrible. He's the leader of Islam. He must stand the whole night. أما أنا فأقم الليل كله. As to me, I'm going to go back home and I will stand the whole night in prayers. The second one asked, does he fast every day? They said, no, the Prophet cannot fast every day. One day he would fast, the other day he would break his fast. This is outside Ramadan, of course. Outside Ramadan. He said, أما أنا فأصوم الدهر كله. I'm going to be more Catholic than the Pope. More religious than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm going to fast. I'm going to fast every single day. The third one said, does the Prophet has relationships with his wife? Does he sleep with them? They said, of course he sleeps with them. How can he make children without sleeping with them? This is not artificial insemination, He said, wow, this is terrible. He sleeps with women? I'm not going to sleep with my wife forever. فَخَرَجَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. The Prophet was in the house and they were in the masjid. He said to them, listen, I stand part of the night in tahajjud and worshipping, and I sleep the other part. I fast one day and I break my fast the other day. And I have relationship with my wives. This is my sunnah. If you want to follow my sunnah and my tradition and Islam, this is the way. If you want to create your own path, that's your own way. Radicalism started from that day. Islam is not saying deprive yourself, enjoy yourself. Ya ayyuha ar-rusul kulu min at-tayyibat. But at the end, wa'amalu salihan. Be careful of what you do. You have to be in charge of this life. Do not let the life, the cheap life, to ride you and control you.